I'd like to now talk about how to access data from matrices and from arrays. And but what I mean by accessing, I mean if I've created a matrix of some sort, I often don't just want to create that matrix, I want to use the information in those elements to do some kind of other calculation. So it's good for me to understand how to create a matrix, but it's probably more important for me to understand how I access information inside that matrix. Okay, so what I've done here is I have created a matrix X that is 3 by 5 that is 3 by 5 big, and inside it I've just put in numbers. And because we've discussed how to create matrices of different types, I've tried to just do a whole bunch of them to show you what's happening. So I've actually created a block matrix where I've put in 3 rows. These are the 3 rows, and inside each row I've generated the row differently. So this one I've used the colon operator, the second row I've used linspace, and in the third one I've just written it out as a matrix. And so I've created effectively a matrix running from 1 to 15, 3 by 5 matrix big. Okay, so now I want to access information in it. So the rule with accessing matrices is, or retrieving data from matrices, is to use the notation of row column. So what I mean by that is if I wanted to access, say, element 9, so I wanted to access element 9 of this matrix, that resides in row 2, column 4. Okay, so if I wanted to find, if I wanted to get element 9, then I would type X, and then I use the curly brackets, I use parentheses. And inside these parentheses, I write row, or I put in the row number, and then I put in the column number. So I'm just typing out the text so that you see the pattern. But what I need to put in here is the number representing the row and the number representing the column. And so this is row 2. Element 9 is in row 2, so I put in 2. And then column is column 4, so I put in 4. And if I push enter now, it gives me back the element in row 2, column 4. So there's one note I want to make, and that is MATLAB matrices are numbered from 1 numbered from 1 onwards. So I can't access element 0 for instance, because there's no such thing in MATLAB as row 0. Subscript indices, so an index is, you know, the row or the column number, must either be real positive integers or logicals. Okay, so what it means is I can't access row 0 because MATLAB matrices start from 1 and they go onwards. Similarly, I can't do, let's try and do row 10, column 7. Or let's do column 2, okay? That also doesn't work because now I'm trying to access a row that doesn't exist. There is no row 10 because X is only a 3 by 5 matrix. That doesn't make sense. One thing I want to show you too is the way that MATLAB represents matrices. And in order for me to do that, I actually just want to generate a small vector for you. So let's say, let's create a variable called y, and let's give it or something easy, 1 to 10. Okay, now I have a 1 by 10 matrix called y, and in it I've got numbers from 1 to 10. If I want to access element 4, say I want to access element 4 in this matrix, then all I do is I say y of 4. Okay, technically y is a 1 by 10 matrix. So what I'm doing when I do this is MATLAB realizes that I have a vector, and so I just need to put in the element index. I don't have to put in the row or the column. I can just put in the number representing element 4, and if I do that, it will return the correct element. If I wanted to be technical, I could write it in row column format. But we know that y is a 1 by 10 matrix. So if we wanted to be strict and do it in row column format, then I'd say, what is the row? Well, there's only one row. And the column, well, it's column 1, 2, 3, 4. So I want to put in column 4. And then that gives me the same result. So this works for column 10 or whatever. And again, I can't do 0. Okay. So let's go back to X now. X is a 3 by 5 matrix. Okay. And what I want to try to do is the same kind of shorthand notation for X. So let's say I wanted to find X of 7. What number will it return? Will it return 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7? Or will it return some other number? Oops. So if I do it, what happens? Will it even work actually? So if I put this in, will it even work? Because technically X is a matrix. It's got a row and a column number. So what happens when I put it in? It returns a number, but it actually isn't 7, it's 3. Right? And what's happening is that MATLAB represents matrices in column order first. So a column major order. So what that means is all the numbers represented in MATLAB, all the matrices represented in MATLAB are represented in column major order. So all of the columns get represented first. So MATLAB is actually representing this matrix as one 15 element long vector, and it's taking the first 3 elements and making that column 1, then taking the second 3 elements and designating that column 2, and then taking the third, and so on. So actually element 7, if we count it based on the columns first, is number 3. It's element 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Okay, if we wanted to find, let's say, element, I don't know, 11, then it gives 9, because again, we are accessing element 11 based on how we count down the columns. So this is 3, 6, 9, 10, 11, and that's column 9. So that's just some basic functionality with how to access matrices. We do it in row column order, so we must put in the row and then we must put in the column number. In the next few videos I'll show you how we can do fancy things with it and access different blocks of matrices easily.